Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the July 14th, 2022 Historic Preservation Commission meeting. This is a regular meeting of the Montclair Historic Preservation Commission. Notice has been given in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by posting a copy of the notice on the first floor of the municipal building and by sending a copy to the Montclair Times, the Star Ledger, and the Herald News. We are being broadcast live on Channel 34 and on the Montclair TV channel, and also remotely on YouTube. And may we have a roll call, please, Tommy?
Yes, good evening. Ms. Bennett?
Present.
Mr. Heineman?
Here.
Mr. Rooney?
Here.
Mr. Reimnitz? Mr. Graham?
Here.
Mr. Sweeney?
Here.
Mr. Connolly?
Here.
Mr. Burr?
Here.
Okay, thank you, everyone. First on the agenda is the approval of the June 27th minutes. And it occurred to me as I was reading through these, I don't believe the June 9th minutes were approved on June.
Did.
They were.
Yeah.
Is it on?
It was, we missed the resolution, the amended resolution, but I'm pretty sure we did the minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I see. So it's right there on page 2, number 1. A motion was made to approve the minutes. Okay. So now what we are doing is approving the minutes for June 27th, which I have to recuse myself because I was not here. But the one thing I'd like to make a comment about before we approve them is also on page 2, the contract authorization for Christopher Statile for the engineering consulting service. It says this item was skipped. I think that should be amended to say the item was moved to this meeting, July 14th rather. And also committee reports, it should be none on there as approved to saying this item was skipped. So I'll recuse myself. Everybody else was here. Will someone make a motion to approve the minutes?
I have a
Okay.
change on page 3.
Okay.
Towards the bottom, one of the dots, it said the structure caught fire and was subsequently gutted. Now, that occurred before the purchase by Mr. Gambino, so I think that it should be reflected. Structure caught fire and was subsequently gutted before his purchase.
Okay. Any other?
There's a minor typo on page 2 in the middle.
It's
A
the
minor
third
typo.
dot from the bottom.
Yeah, it says the owner is Northern Property and it's Northern.
I'll make a motion to approve as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great.
One abstention.
Thank you. And now we have the 2 resolutions. The first one concerns the Resolution 2022-10, Northern Property Associates, 95 Maple Avenue, for total demolition of the structure.
Has everyone had a chance to review the resolution? I'll make a motion to approve as drafted.
I'll second.
Other people?
Vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I recuse myself.
Opposed? Okay. Tommy, I noticed that it's for my signature. Do you need a physical signature? Because I don't think I have a digital copy on file.
I can send you a digital copy, if that's
Okay.
okay tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, then. And the next resolution is for appointing the Christopher Statile, PA, for engineer when the Historic Preservation Commission needs engineering expertise on demolitions. And I noted that this was amended, that's why it wasn't looked at last month, and I've asked Tommy if he could just fill us in on the reason it was amended and how it was amended.
Yeah, sure. And I also will note that at the top, the date is incorrect. It has the meeting date from our special meeting, so I'll change that to July 14th to today's date. The changes that were made are reflected in the third paragraph. It didn't reflect that an RFP was issued for this, and so that was added. And then the last whereas, it didn't previously have the account number where the funds have been approved to pay for the engineer. So that has been added as well. Otherwise, it's the same.
I'll make a motion to approve as amended.
Second?
I think I can vote on this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Seeing that there's no public here, we'll skip public comment. We'll move right to committee reports. And today, I think we haven't, I checked with Tommy. The minor applications committee met today. We had 3 applications. One was for HPC 2022-27, 378 Bloomfield Avenue. That's the Seymour Street project. That was approved. It was signage. Next one was 2022-26, 465 Bloomfield Avenue. That was approved with conditions. And 2022-16, which is 180 Bloomfield Avenue. That's still in discussion, I believe.
Chair, was the signage for Seymour Street, was that for the Summit medical signage?
No, it
Different,
wasn't.
okay.
No, it was.
I only bring that up because there was a planning board discussion about that last session.
Right.
but
No,
yeah.
this is
Yeah.
signage that's already approved within the total plan, and it's for the building, that as you look at the piazza, it's on the left side, ground floor, they have a occupant now. So so the signage is already there, they just wanted approval for, lettering and that. So it has nothing to do with the
Okay.
planning board.
Thank you.
And on June 27th, the Planning Department received a letter from, let me find it, from SHPO concerning the library, from the New Jersey State Historic Preservation Office concerning ADA improvements at the Montclair Public Library, which is the library on South Fullerton Avenue. The scope of the project includes accessibility improvements to 7 restrooms inside the building on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd floors. As all proposed modifications to the building are interior, it is our opinion that the historic integrity of the library will not be affected by this project. So I didn't feel that it was necessary for it to come before the board for discussion. So I've signed it, and Janice Talley signed it as director of the library, of the planning department. Okay. On our agenda, because it's a committee, I'll go to this right now. The estate area survey and the residential design guidelines, we do need a committee to review that now that he has resigned. So Micah Graham will be part of it.
Yes, I'll volunteer to.
Thank
be
you,
part of it.
thank you.
No problem.
And Steve.
I've been part of it.
You've been part of it all along. But what we need to do is read through the 2 again, and then I think what I would like to do is hand it over to Mr. Conley just to review it because we need this as documentation for demolitions, for anything else that's coming up. So it's a long document, but also the residential design guidelines, I think we could use your expertise to, even though we don't have, districts yet, we need your expertise.
Okay, sure.
So if we could do that by August and maybe get it on the agenda for September, I think that would be a good game plan.
Chair, would this be an appropriate time to discuss the demolition ordinance? Specifically the requirement to attempt to sell the property as is? Would this be the appropriate time to discuss that?
Or should we wait to the after?
Let's wait till the end.
Well, let's
Okay.
wait to the end, till after old business, because we have somebody waiting here
Okay.
patiently. So let's, under old business, I'm just.
Sorry, Kathleen. One more thing for the grants, we have the commuter area survey.
Oh, right.
That's ongoing. Connolly and Hickey is actually doing that for us, and they've submitted to the planning office the first batch of property descriptions, which has also been shared with SHPO for their review, just for some initial comments before they survey every single property that they're going to survey. So those are coming in batches to keep things moving.
Okay, great. And I did check the website. It's up on the website. So if anybody has any interest in the properties that they are surveying, it's there in a very concise map form. And because there were 650 properties, I believe, initially, what we had to do is really take some off, reduce it by about 200 or 300, I don't remember what, but it's clearly delineated on the website. And in the next go-around, we can always pick up for those properties to be included. So just anything else then, Tommy, on that?
No, that was all.
Okay, thanks. So under old business, skipping to B, which is application 2022-21, 554 Valley Road for facade cladding and window replacement. That application has been moved to August 11th and will be heard at that meeting. So we have now application 2022-18, 504 Bloomfield Avenue, Mr. Victor Olivetti, and this is for the facade cladding. Documents were previously distributed. I was not here, as you know, but I was able to watch the meeting on TV. Actually, I watched it twice, and I reviewed it again this afternoon. But I think maybe I'll hand it over to Jason, because you were the one that.
Sure. This matter is one that I abstained before. Do I have to
Yes,
leave the
yes.
dais again?
Mhm.
I have to, okay.
So if you want to go ahead and approach Mr.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm an applicant here for 504 Bloomfield Avenue, and I've been a tenant for about 8.5 years, and we've tried to clean our storefront with different chemicals, power washing, and over the last 8.5 years, I don't know if you saw the photos, but it gets progressively worse. We are in the beauty business. We renovated the entire inside of the salon, and since the storefront is our first impression of all the clients, they keep saying to us, why does your store look so dirty? Why is it so bad? So I'm here for that reason. It looks very tired and very dirty. So I just wanted to bring that up. We did speak to several painters. The product that I'd like to use is a very good product that's been in business for almost 100 years. And it adheres very well. It doesn't peel. It's easily cleaned. It can be power washed. And at the last meeting that we had, Mr. Connolly brought up the fact that, did I try a sponge cleaning, a blasting and stuff? So between the last meeting and this one, we did. And I'd like to show you the results. And I do have a letter from the company itself that since the blasting process actually opens the pores on the stone, I have the picture of where we did and where we didn't do. He cannot guarantee, and it even states that the process does not embed any sealer and other mechanism that would prevent future weathering or surface contamination from depositing on the stone. So I'd like to show you, I'll talk a little bit more about it, I guess, first, then I'll show you some pictures. We did a mock-up test this Tuesday on 7/12. We rushed it to get here before the meeting. It took some of the stains off, but we immediately noticed that excuse me, the microabrade process opens the pores on the stone, and it's no longer a smooth surface, which I feel is a bigger problem for the dirt to penetrate at this point, which I'll clearly show you the pictures. And I even did some research on the sandstone itself, and as they use this process to clean, there's all different kinds of stones and density. Sandstone can be a very soft material depending on the cement composition. They cannot guarantee that it won't be worse than it is now because the surfaces are very rough. And I came here only to ask to coat the surface in white, which I felt is the most historic color that I could pick, outside of maybe barnyard red. And there's a lot of vibrant colors in Montclair, I mean, oranges and different things in Mexican restaurants. I wouldn't think of doing something like that I feel is detrimental to the historic look of Montclair. I am a general contractor. I do take pride in our building, and I do like to follow all the guidelines of every town that I've worked in. So I'm asking for your votes today to resolve this issue. And I'm just going to show you a few pictures of what we did, if I can.
Is it possible, can you email those to Tommy?
I can't, he said it's not working.
Oh.
Yeah.
Eventually, at some point.
As
Yeah,
an
yeah.
exhibit.
But I can
Yes.
show you,
Yeah.
it's pretty clear if you don't mind. Okay. It was a smooth stone on top. It did whiten up a little bit, but could you see how it actually blasted the sandstone and made it a very rough,
This is
marbleized
the
type of.
abrasive.
It's abrasive. It has like even metal components in the sponge thing. There was two processes. The first one wouldn't take the dirt off, and then he used another product that did. But I'd just like to show you.
Okay, so that,
Okay,
yeah,
the
the
top
bottom.
is
Mhm. I
it's
see.
the original
Mhm.
sandstone that, if I could, let me show you a couple more pictures. And this is the look that we're dealing with.
Mhm.
Just to remind, Kathleen, you weren't here for the last one. This is pretty much what we're dealing with. That's what the store looks like.
So this is the
If you show Mr.
sandstone.
Conley as well,
Excuse me?
would you mind showing Mr. Conley as well?
Absolutely.
So I'm confused by the material because the documents I reviewed and the architect's drawings from 11 years ago say it was cast stone. So are we talking about sandstone or cast stone? Because cast stone is a concrete product.
Well, this is a soft stone. I don't know what you had, and it was another thing. This is not the original stone on this building. It was changed and modernized. I'm sorry.
Microphone.
It was changed and modified. Well, let me just go down one so you can see it too. So the above picture is, it was a smooth surface,
Mhm.
which didn't have open pores, which still took a tremendous amount of dirt.
Mhm.
Okay, elements from the outside. Okay, and then the bottom picture, you open it up if you want to see it clearer, instantly opened all the pores and made it more porous than it previously was.
And that's, what processes did you use?
It's a
It's
Mr. Conley-
it's a micro abrasive,
It's a
but
microabrasive
there's
sponge
more than
process.
one cleaning method. That's one of the ones I suggested.
Well,
A
we-
chemical cleaner
We
could
did
be
all
used.
chemical cleaners, we did power washing, we tried all that stuff in the past. Nothing takes this off. It's actually into the stone. Okay, and the only way we did it was blasting, as you suggested.
Okay.
And that's the result we got, which the company
Right.
said that they cannot guarantee that it won't be worse than before in 6 months.
So the staining did they identify the type of staining?
What do you mean identified? This is.
I mean,
here.
Is it caused by pollution?
Well,
Is it
I'm sure it's-
efflorescence?
I'm sure it's, well, it's not efflorescence. Efflorescence is a white type of material.
Well, I do see that there,
Mostly-
right?
This is mostly dirt that you'll see if you look at the storefront.
Those
It's embedded
white
dirt.
patches, right?
That
It
is
looks
just-
like dirt,
That's just
yeah.
the inconsistency
So
in
it's-
the
it's-
stone. It gets ugly looking.
It's air
really
pollution,
true.
it's
It's air
atmosphere.
pollution, it's atmosphere, and there's no, there is no way of cleaning it. Like I said, we've had several people come up to it, so. And it inconsistently comes clean too when we do it. It doesn't have a consistent pattern to it. So the biggest problem is,
Have you talked to the architect that designed this facade?
I don't even know who the architect designed it.
It's right here.
But- Well, how would I have the information? And why would I talk to one of the cleaning companies, as you suggested, just to see if there was a way of getting it clean? And it actually destroyed it. And he said if you kept it on there any longer, he actually could put a hole right through the building. That's how soft it was.
So are we dealing with limestone or cast stone? That's the first question.
It appears to be a sandstone. I don't know exactly what it was. I think you mentioned.
cast stone.
Cast stone, yeah, this cast stone could be, it's casted.
concrete.
It could be, well, it's not concrete in this case, but it's
stone, if you use the term cast stone, that means concrete.
part of
That's
it,
how they
cement,
make that, yeah.
cement part of it, yeah. But it could be all different densities and all different structures. If you look
Well,
at.
limestone is Completely different.
Limestone's different. Well, this is limestone, it's not a limestone.
Right, but that, all right.
But my point is, if it's concrete, and when you blasted it, that's what's giving you that granular texture on it, for concrete.
It's actually just going, it's a smooth surface, stone when it was laid, I guess, in 2000, whatever it was.
But I guess that's the way it was applied, correct?
There's a,
See the top, this, if you felt this, right, this is like a smooth surface.
Right.
That's sealed, it doesn't have open pores. When we did the process of cleaning it, the only way that we found we can get it off was blasting, as Mr. Connolly suggested, with
Right.
sponge blasting. It just ate right through it, and it opened up the pores. You see, it's rough, the top one's really not rough. If you went up there and you felt it,
Well, that's, how are you gonna correct that?
Well,
With
the-
with, what you're saying is that
what we did already.
yeah, what you did already. If you put paint in that, it's all gonna, it's gonna
Well,
lay
it's
in
not
the.
paint. No, this is a California stucco that actually fills voids, cracks, and it goes uniform. It would fill those little marks in there.
So it's a stucco paint you're
Yeah,
putting
oh,
on?
yeah, it's not just paint, so I wanna say it's paint, it's a polymer, I think
Yeah,
they
here's
cut
the,
sheets on
they-
it, I gave
and
safety things on it.
he had the sample, right? We
We
felt
did have,
that.
I
It's
gave
that
out
little
samples, I
thing
gave out like 15
there.
samples to this last
Okay.
week.
Yeah.
So it
It's
is a
thick.
product that's flexible, it's very thick, it'll look like brand new stucco, that's the look. You won't see any imperfections, you won't see the little pits. We didn't wanna do a big section, because as soon as we saw that, we were very concerned that even the person that was doing it with.
But are you saying that you're going to leave it with the texture, or are you going to have it smooth? Are you smoothing it like what
It's-
was there? What's your intention for, to
Okay.
add,
It's
to
to
look?
do a California stucco look, it has little stucco inside of it.
Which is there?
It's gonna be
Which is
that.
that, yeah.
Oh, which totally changes okay.
It's a stucco.
and I want to just say really quick, I was looking at the materials from the original application. It says limestone veneer. I don't know if it's actual limestone, but the spec sheet says limestone veneer.
We didn't do any tests on
For
it, we didn't
the-
think it would go that far, but it's soft.
Yeah.
It's obviously very soft, because when we blasted it.
I just wanted to throw that in there because I did find that when I was looking at the old file.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Tommy.
We have a spec sheet in the old file. It says limestone veneer.
Yeah, the
So-
drawings say new cast stone sill to match existing.
The drawings say cast concrete, I think,
Yeah,
but the
new
spec sheet
precast
says
cornice.
limestone veneer.
So what does that mean? They do a cast stone with like composite of limestone on top?
And Tommy, is that from when they added it in the
That's
early 2000s? Is that the application you're referring to, or the?
Yes,
the-
this is the original approval to add that cladding was from 2011.
2011, okay,
Yes.
that's right.
Hmm. I think it's important to know what material we're dealing with.
Well, the
I
materials
mean,
showed.
we should talk to, like, if, I mean, the cast stone is used a lot. Does it happen all the time, to cast stone? Is it just your building? Because it sounds like it's a,
Well, you see the pictures, I mean. the
yeah, I know,
pictures
I
are
understand.
Proof
but
of what's
is this a-
happening.
is
I
this
don't
a
know really
typical-
what matters.
Something
what-
that typically happens with cast stone?
Well, I don't know what that material actually is. I didn't build the building. This says cast stone. I think there's many different things that are casted. There's cement, there's concrete, there's limestone. The specs that they have is saying it's limestone, and yes, limestone does
Right.
absorb dirt.
Tommy,
If you ever see limestone on your steps and they're black,
Mhm.
okay, that's what we're dealing with. So I would say it's more of limestone than it is any cement in it. Because when I did do research on the actual concrete, there's many things that they could cast to mix, making it soft or making it hard. This obviously is very soft, because the second that we tried to clean it, it penetrated through the surface and opened little pores.
Yeah.
And that's a big concern to me right now, because I
and
know
there
what's
were-
gonna happen a year from now.
There are a lot of limestone buildings out there that are not this, you know, with this type of staining, so.
Well, I can't really compare to other buildings. I'm just telling you what
Curious as to
happened on
caused the
504
problem.
Bloomfield Ave.
Tom, Mr. Connolly, looking at Tommy's planning report, what is it, figure 1, and you see the neighboring building that has that same kind of black pollution staining. Do you happen to know what that facade is? Is that a stucco or a concrete? I mean, it's the other it's the neighboring building.
Right.
But it seems to be having the same issue. I'm just curious if we had information on that material, if that could kind of help us out in terms of the
Yeah,
feasibility of.
that's a better,
putting it.
better copy. Yeah, they look like they are similar types of material with similar staining. And it looks like those storefronts have been modified as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this storefront is far from original storefront.
You know, I'm wondering if it's a flashing problem as well, at the cornice above the first
Right.
floor.
But yeah, this looks like some kind of stone as well.
It's on the surface, though. It's on the entire surface of the stone. It's not just where it was flat. There is no flash in there anyway.
There is no flashing?
Correct. Flashing is to keep water out.
Right, but is the stone just constantly getting wet from the top and
It's
absorbing?
weather. It's obviously from the traffic that's on Bloomfield Ave. It's the elements and pollution, as you mentioned. It's many factors that get things dirty. The problem is with this stone, it penetrated through the stone, and we're not able to clean it, and that's why I'm here.
Well, I'm wondering if it's an installation problem, right? If there is no flashing, right? Because there are plenty of cast stone and limestone buildings that don't look like this. So was it improperly installed in the first place?
It's dirty on the surface, though. On the face of it. It's not just the top.
I know, but if masonry is continuously wet, it's gonna behave differently.
Well, this is the type of facade that we're dealing with. This is what's on there.
Right, so it
I
was
can't change that. I'm
possibly
trying to
installed
seal it so
incorrect
that,
in the
I'm
past.
trying to seal it so that, with a quality product, so that it doesn't keep penetrating and we don't look like we look, and it's washable and
But if
serviceable.
it's a flashing problem, you're still getting water in there, the material that you put on the face of the limestone or cast stone may have a problem if it's continuously getting wet.
Mr. Connolly, flashing does not do anything for a face of a product.
But if water's getting behind this facade that was installed over another facade, we're gonna have
Water's
a
not, the problem is not water getting behind it. It never shows anything coming from the back. It's all surface dirt. I've been building houses for 35-plus years, and it's not a flashing issue.
I'm saying masonry is gonna behave differently if it's not dry.
Okay, but it's dry. It's dry now, it's dry most of the year. It's not retaining water. There's never water spots on it. It's just pure.
Those look like water spots to me, those white-ish spots.
Okay, well, anyway, I'm not really here to argue this at all. I'm here to merely find a solution that could seal the front of this store.
The problem I'm having
So
is
it doesn't look the way it is.
This board approved something 11 years ago or so, and it failed.
It's dirty.
It failed.
Well, aluminum siding fails after 11 years,
So maybe
too.
we should replace the limestone with limestone and have it done properly.
Well, who would be ripping out limestone to replace it? I'm not here for that application. I'm here merely to.
The problem is our
coat the front
ordinance
of it.
says painting masonry, it's against our historic design guidelines.
Right, but it says also that if it was painted, you could paint it any color you want.
And it was never painted.
Right, so why can't it be painted if we're having a problem that
That's
you're talking
the
about a
issue.
failure?
That's the issue we're talking.
You're talking about a failure to the product, so have a
failure to-
resolution by sealing it with something that will stop that from getting penetrated and look like the way it does.
There's another solution, you could redo it.
Oh, so you want me to go back to the landlord or myself to take out a storefront that was
Well, I'm
approved by
saying-
the
I'm saying-
board at the time, installed, and just because it's dirty, you want us to demolish the storefront
Well, we don't
and
know-
put a new
We don't know
limestone?
why it got dirty. I'm saying go back
It's
to.
debris, it's obvious, it's quite obvious, in due respect, Mr. Connolly, it's dirty from traffic, it's dirty from pollution and elements that are in our air. It's not a good product, obviously, on its surface,
Right.
but that doesn't, I'm not here to replace the product, I'm here to mitigate the problem, which is just recoat it with something that will look really nice. There's a million white storefronts in Montclair,
The-
there's orange, there's green, there's pink, there's blue. I don't know why
But
a
the
white
problem
storefront
with-
is such a problem, just because it's not painted. It's not painted, but
The
it's a
problem
problem.
with painting masonry is it's gonna become a constant maintenance issue.
It can be washed, the product's very serviceable, it can be washed, it can be recoated if it's dirty. I can't do anything with this storefront right now. I cannot clean it. I've tried, I've even used your suggestion and had compressors, had people there blasting, covering, containing the area because that sponge gets all over the place.
Have you tried chemical cleaners?
Yes, we tried all kinds of chemical cleanings, we had
Which
power
one?
washing done. I don't know specifically, I hired professionals before I came here the last time, and they looked at it, they tried cleaning it, and they said, there's nothing that's gonna get it out, it's in the pores of the material. So that's all I'm asking is, if it was white before and it got dirty, which it will, every storefront in Montclair gets dirty, you recoat it, and it's that simple. I don't know why I understand that you have guidelines, but there needs to be exceptions when we've tried everything to clean this, and the result is it still looks horrible, like if we haven't cleaned it in 10 years.
Okay, I'd just like to make a comment that we've come across this before. I think it was about 4 years ago, and it was a building on Midland Avenue. And it was, they wanted to put an epoxy similar to what you're saying, and we did not allow that. We denied that. And I think what we look at is that our design guidelines are very clear that masonry should not be painted. So I don't know if there's any other discussion that maybe someone else here wants to ask a question, but our design guidelines are very clear in that. And I'd like to see a little bit more of the sponge jet or the Ivex, exactly what you used on it.
What do you mean you'd like to see a little bit more?
Pictures, sorry, a little bit more documentation of what that you.
What I showed you?
Mm-hmm.
As far as looking at that picture again, or
Well, or other pictures. I mean, I think you showed us the pictures where that you said were,
where we tested?
right.
Did a mock-up.
But I'd just like to reiterate that our design guidelines are very clear and that masonry shouldn't
I
be
understand that, but
painted.
that's why I'm here, to get an exception to something that we cannot cure any other way. And if it was already previously painted, or which many masonry storefronts are painted all over Montclair, it wouldn't be an issue, and it's only because it hasn't been painted. And understand
Well, it hasn't been painted and it's in a historic district. There are other storefronts in Montclair that are not in historic districts that this restriction wouldn't apply to.
The other issue is whoever, the owner, previously came before this board, because the building didn't look great. So they approved, a redesign of the facade. And that didn't work. So now we're trying something else.
Yeah, so we're just layering an alteration
Yeah,
on
we
top
just
of
keep-
another, so, I mean, in my mind, that makes the design guidelines less rigid. The fact that we're not preserving anything historic, this is from 2011, that what you're saying is a
Right.
failed restoration that looks worse than what could have previously been there.
Looking like this, obviously.
And looking at the neighboring buildings, they're having the same staining issue. So I don't know if there's any.
But what that says to me is that, there's the failure in the detailing of how this was put together, because
But
there
in
are
the
plenty,
neighboring
there are plenty of
building, too?
limestone buildings and cast stone buildings all over that
Can we-
still
Yeah,
look great.
but the
Can I-
two
But for some
adjacent
reason,
ones
yeah.
Can I
are
cl-
not.
Yeah.
So it sounds like an environmental issue.
I'd like
not
to
a
clarify
construction
something.
issue.
I'd like to clarify something as well, and Tommy, you might be able to help with this. The 2011 approval, was that approved because it met historic guidelines?
I mean, yeah, I would assume so.
But there's
and-
nothing in the file to say, or in a resolution to state,
Well, then,
this alteration, falls within the guidelines. This alteration is historically, I'm not sure what the right word is, appropriate, I guess.
Number 9 on the resolution says, by undertaking the proposed improvements, the commission noted that the applicant is strictly following the intent of the design criteria contained in the township's historic preservation ordinance.
Strictly following, you said?
Yes, strictly following the intent of the design criteria contained in the township's historic preservation ordinance and in full compliance with the guidelines adopted by the Secretary of the Interior.
And it was a historic district when this was redone. So, I mean,
Right.
we'd have to assume that it was. I have
And-
one more question. Do you have a larger picture of where you actually did the testing on the facade? Like, you just gave a very localized
Well,
picture.
because we only did one section, and as soon
Right.
as we saw it, we weren't gonna continue. I mean, if you open it up, you wanna see it, but.
Is there anything that can be applied to that section that's been cleaned already to help fill in those gaps and seal it? Or is that, Tom, is there anything you can think of that, once they use that spray there, is this epoxy the only alternative, or is there?
No, there's other products out there that you could use.
Could it be sealed and brought back to this smooth surface with a different product that would look like the masonry that that was approved in 2011?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Not sure.
I'd have to look into that.
I don't think you can get it to look, smooth the way it was before, consistently.
But there's more than one product. I mean,
We have
there's.
peeling. That product, we have to worry about falling off whenever you put a thin, again, masonry went to school for it, whenever you put a thin layer of concrete or anything there, it's not gonna stay.
Not gonna
It's
stay.
gonna fall off and peel. And that's what I don't want this to be. I don't wanna do something that 6 months from here, a year from now, looks worse. And that's what I feel we've already started here by blasting it. We've opened more pores, and it's common sense that a sponge is gonna absorb more dirt than a surface that can be easily wiped off. And we've kind of created a sponge with this product, trying to do it. There's open pores. And I even have a letter from the president of SpongeJet, and he said this process does not embed any sealer or other mechanism that would prevent future weather and or surface contamination from depositing on the stone.
But they could put a seal on top of it, right? Like, so they could put a different seal after they clean it. It would change the surface.
That would be like painting it.
It's painting.
That's
Oh,
the same thing.
it's
as-
the same thing, you're right.
Resurfacing
Okay.
it.
I find it
Fair
interesting, the windows were replaced at the same time. And you notice that the sill of the window is very clean. And, that's probably just a cast stone sill.
Well, the sill is like in a little bit too.
Still, it's out there.
There's a pocket though with the
Yeah.
window, it does have the sill where it's back a little bit,
I
it's
just
not
don't know
out in
why.
the weather.
Or maybe it was precast for the
Yeah,
the
they're
cornice and the
precast.
sills, and maybe limestone for.
The limestone doesn't get that dirty that quickly, does it?
In the
Unless you're
2011
in training.
documents, there's pictures that
Right.
there was some kind of cast stone material in the sign band that might be original. In the photos, you can see that it's very dirty
Where's
as well. And that's in
In your memo?
It's not in the memo, it's in the materials that I put on the dais for the meeting tonight. So I have a copy right here. I think I put one in front of your seat, Kathleen.
Here, oh, here.
If you flip through there, you'll see that there's photos of the cast stone above the storefront windows that I think had been covered with some type of siding or something like that.
Well, it's interesting to note on this resolution from 2011 that any additional methods to clean historic brick not yet submitted must be submitted as specifications and monitored by a commission representative in the field during construction. I'm just wondering if we can ask you to do, are you saying that all avenues have been exhausted?
Yes.
That you're saying that you wouldn't consider doing, I only wrote down sponge jet and Ivex to remove dirt. So have you, which is what Mr. Conley had suggested during the meeting. You're suggesting you want to use wall flex, correct?
It's called roll flex, is that what that is? Roll flex.
Wall flex?
No, it's roll flex.
Oh, okay, roll
It's a
flex.
polymer coating that seals, it's flexible, and it's washable, and it adheres to almost anything.
Okay, that's what you,
That's what I'm proposing.
you're
Not just
proposing.
paint, but something that would hold up much better than paint.
Okay, so the sponge jet and the Ivex, which is what Mr. Conley had suggested, he said that the water jet was too intense last time, and that's what you went ahead and did. So I'm just curious, why didn't you use the sponge jet or the Ivex?
I use it, this is sponge jet. This is what I use, this is sponge jet.
The pictures you showed us were sponge jet?
Yeah, this is from the
I
Crestmont
thought-
company. And he wrote to me that, when I asked him, as soon as I saw the pores open, I said, we got a bigger problem now than we had before. If we do this whole storefront, it's gonna be green and God knows what's gonna get into those pores. And, he said to me, there is no type of sealer that comes with it that we can use. He said that I cannot, any way, shape, or form, guarantee that this is gonna penetrate.
I know, but this is just of the product, this isn't of.
This is sponge jet.
No, that's the product. Is he commenting on what you actually did on the storefront?
Process, yeah, his guy got this letter when I said to him, can you guarantee that this won't penetrate it? I said, to me, it looks like it's gonna be worse than before. So he went back to the president of the company, he asked him about it. He says, different densities of stones. This is a soft stone, obviously, to get that rough with just running the machine. It's sponges, actually little pieces of sponges that go against it, that gets blasted, that creates the cleaning process. It's not sand, it's sponges. Sand would be even stronger. So I asked him, and he put in a letter stating that, exactly what I read.
So basically, this is the process that
This
you
is the
use
process, sponge
that
jet.
resulted
Exactly what
in.
Mr. Connolly
Well, let me finish. That was the
suggested
process
to
that
me, is what we
resulted
used.
in the damage to the brick that you showed us in the
Opened
exhibit.
the
Okay.
pores more so than it ever was open before.
So I also suggested talking to a conservator.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't really understand. We've exhausted several methods already. We can't get it clean. What would you be telling me about cleaning?
Don't know. I mean,
that
they're
we
expert-
don't know?
they're-
I'm an expert in construction too, for
But
35 years.
they're an
We
experts
do
in
clean.
conservator, how to conserve building materials, right?
Well, conservative, it's not really conservative at this point. It's trying to clean it.
Right.
You all agree?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not like we're trying to preserve something back to a historic look or break that. We're trying to get it to look clean and not tired and dirty. So it's really not a conservative job, it's a cleaning company. And we've.
And that's what
exhausted-
conservators do. They recommend how to,
Well, we Googled everybody, we've had several people come, like I said. I mean, we're just going in circles.
But this
here.
isn't a historic facade.
No,
This
exactly.
is a 2011 cast stone.
Right, it's
There's
not even-
nothing-
But it was approved because it was strictly in conformance with the guidelines, right? So that's,
Yeah, I
that's
know,
something
but
to consider.
In terms of what
And it
you
failed.
need to do to exhaust avenues to figure out how to clean it, it's not like we have to go back in time to figure out how to deal with some delicate substance. This is a modern
It is.
building material.
Right, it's a modern cast
So like,
stone.
I mean, how
That's
hard
what
is it to figure out how to clean it? And if you can't clean it, you can't clean it. It's not like there are some ancient techniques that we need to like go back and find.
Exactly, and this is state-of-the-art stuff that we used.
Well, my question was that there might be another method to clean it. I was just wondering what else, you sponge jet, you've testified, but what about Ivex?
We didn't,
IBEX.
IVEX? Yeah.
EBEX.
We didn't use Evex, but it's all the same type of product. It's trying to get the dirt out of something that penetrated in a porous stone, and that's what we're dealing with. So there's two ways. There's a chemical approach to it, which we tried, power washing, all kinds of chemicals to try to clean it, which would have been wonderful if that's all we had to do. And then we went to the drastic process of actually blasting it, whether it's stone or sand or sponges. That's what we actually did. And we found out that this material is soft and it can't endure any kind of pressure without changing the surface of the product. And to me, changing a smooth surface to a sponge-like surface is just creating a new problem, much worse than we had before. And from my experience, I could guarantee that if we did the whole front of this store, like Mr. Connolly suggested, with this sponge blasting, okay, in 6 months to a year, like I went right to the president of the company, and he told me that, of course I can't guarantee that. I can't guarantee it's not gonna look worse 2 months from now. So this is where we're at. So I'm here asking, can we seal it with something that's the most historical color that we could possibly use, which is simple, it's white, it'll look clean, it'll look beautiful again, the way a beauty salon should look. And that's what I'm asking your votes for, to make an exception. It's not like we just came here and we're doing it because we want a red color like, or a green color like Cuban Pete's want. We want to make it look good. And I've spent a ton of money already trying it through different washes, different chemicals, and even a process that's supposed to be state-of-the-art. And yeah, it will take it off. It was inconsistent a little bit. We have a stone there that is delicate. The more dirt's there, the more you have to blast it to get it off, which makes it more porous. If you look at the top, it's really bad. It really has a lot of dirt on the top of the storefront. And we did the bottom. That was the cleanest spot. If you look on the storefront, what we tested was one of the cleanest spots, and it still destroyed the stone, in my opinion.
And that's why I wanted a picture of the total storefront, so we could
Oh, I
see
can show you that. I thought-
what,
We had that, and it was submitted 15 copies of everything in our first meeting, and it was postponed a couple times. But is this what you're looking for?
and where did you clean it then?
They only did the one brick.
Right, but where is it in this picture?
It's on the bottom. It's in this picture here. We did the lowest spot, the cleanest spot.
Can you scroll up?
This is the one we cleaned, which is right on the bottom, which is right above the Velcro door that goes to the basement. You can see the door in that picture. The very
Oh.
first one is what we did, and that was cleaner than the top, much cleaner
Right.
than the top that has a lot more
Right.
weather elements and dirt.
It's interesting that this looks horrible. The bricks held up so well. Well, I mean, if we approve this, it sets a precedent for future.
Well, I think you have to be very clear that this is, like Jason was saying, it's a brand-new facade.
It's a new facade.
And that would be probably the only reason why I might be comfortable with that, is we make it, the carve-out is because it is from 2011, it's a new material that perhaps failed. I mean, that's something that we should consider in this vote.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Howlett, I have a question. This product that you're proposing, can it be removed?
I'm sure it could be blasted off or chemically removed if you wanted it to.
Mhm.
I don't really see, it can be cleaned, it can be power washed, and it can be recoated right over it if it gets dirty at all. So it's not like, if I did see any dirt like we have here, like I said, the 8 years that I've been here, this gets worse every single year. And this product, like any type of, I don't want to use the word paint, because this is much superior than paint, it's much more expensive. It's flexible, and it will fill in those little divots that are there. But it can be, they're in business for 100 years, almost 100 years. I've seen stuff that's been done 30 years ago. Again, I am a licensed contractor, and I know the person
for this. In the spec sheets, if you read them, it tells you that it adheres to just about anything. It's very good. It just has to be clean when you apply it, even though the dirt's not coming off. You would power wash the surface to make sure there is no kind of loose debris on the storefront, and then it gets applied, and it looks good to go. And it's, like I said, it's very easy to clean. I won't repeat myself, but, and it can be recoated. So if for any reason we get, this element of dirt that we're getting on Bloomfield Ave, it's not gonna penetrate it, for one thing.
I'd just like to make a comment. The picture that you showed, that this text, the paint has a texture to it.
Correct.
So what you're basically doing is changing the whole look of that first floor facade. What it's gonna look like a texture, it's gonna look like stucco, textured stucco, as opposed to it being a smooth stone, which sort of resembles a bank building in a way. That smooth stone with the grooves in between each block. So,
Well, no, that
in
won't
a,
change, that thing. The grooves it'll still look like, all that sectional stuff will look exactly the same.
okay, so
It'll
if you have a,
little texture on the face of it.
so, okay, but you're basically changing the look of the whole building with this type of application. Because you're testifying that it's gonna be textured, it's not gonna be smooth, correct?
I gave samples of it, brought them, 15 samples, I think everybody saw them.
Well, is there a way to keep it more in tune, aligned with what's there now by making it smooth as opposed to textured? Because if you think about textured just, that absorbs all the dirt on various surfaces that reflect out too. I mean, if you look at any stucco building, and I understand that this product, but if it's used in foundations, there's a reason for that. It's not the main facade.
Oh, no, I just gave an example, it's usually even close to dirt and things that.
But the question is, can you get that product without the faux stucco look? Can you get it
With
smooth?
a finer grain.
Yeah, finer grain to more closely mirror the existing.
Could you match the current color also?
I even have a sample of.
And that was gonna be my next point.
Yeah, can you match the current color as well?
Well, the current color is black and.
No, the original.
The original
It's
gray,
the
the
original
limestone.
Right, like you see on the storefront.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Just more of a natural stone look,
Yeah,
not like,
exact-
We could do
not an
something that's
eggshell
a
white.
little bit more, see it,
Yeah.
doesn't have the heavy stucco look.
Yeah, that would be good.
Well, even, yeah, I think
Yeah,
that would be
that's
much.
much better.
I could do that. I mean, I was looking to not do something that looked like paint.
Yeah.
That was the goal. Actually, stucco's beautiful in my opinion if it's done properly.
But this isn't a stucco building. I mean, it's not, it didn't,
No, we
Never
get it.
was.
Yeah.
I get where his head was at, but I think we wanna go in a different direction.
Something smooth.
And just go
That's fine.
something smooth, that's fine.
That's
I don't
fine.
want it to be.
No, they have a product that obviously, is much smoother.
Well, could we do a mock-up on one block or half a block?
And what happens if we don't like it?
And you paint over
Fix it off.
Just kinda- I don't know, we just kinda did that and we ruined the stone.
Yeah, I mean, we
It was
could
great.
do what
Yeah,
we
gotta
typically
try
do,
to-
send it
So
to,
the other thing I'd have to do is try to.
excuse me
fill-
1 second,
Sure.
we can do, basically what we do with the larger projects,
Mhm.
like a field review to confirm, and then if it's, still too grainy or gritty, we
We
can
can
have
do
them
it on
change
a
the
mock-up.
content. Yeah.
Can I make a suggestion? Could we do it on a board or something?
Yeah.
And
That's
just
what I'm saying, a
see it
mock-up.
there rather than
Yeah.
experiment?
Yeah, you can do it on a board out and look at it out
But that's
Yeah.
fine,
on
we do
site.
like field review all the
Right,
time. like,
and
get
see
the
it in
approval
situ
and then-
with the-
Exactly. No,
see
I'm
it
saying,
in
rather
situ.
than
Mhm.
do another test that could
Yeah.
be
Right,
hard to
right,
get off
right.
again, or
Let's do it on
change the
a board.
consistency of the look. I wanna have, a uniform look on this. We don't want it to look like we did test, like we did. Like, this will probably have to be filled now, I would think, if we wanna try to go back to.
Well, you just testified that this paint will fill it in.
Well, no, you're talking about doing a smooth, it's not gonna fill it, you said. You wanna do something that's not so.
No, but if he
stucco-like.
puts one on and then
Right.
has to cover it with another application, is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that if you want me to do a smooth look, you're saying, right? So we'll just have to fill it, we actually made divots in the one block doing the test.
But it
Not a big
seems as,
deal. I mean, it's not a big
no,
deal.
I think that if the material would be fine with that, if it's thick enough, it'll just fill it right in. With a trowel, just go over.
Yeah, okay, well, anyway, we can.
Anyway,
we can deal with that, so.
Right.
you'd
Let's
like
do a
to
field
mock
test,
up.
yeah, let's do it.
a mock-up, I'll do it on a smooth board or something,
Right.
a piece of AZAC or something, that will give you the exact look. And
Okay.
then We'll do it like in the white, is that the color?
Right.
I think
Is
that's
that
the-
close, is that what approximates what's already there?
I think it was more, yeah.
It's, or is it a,
Limestone.
it's hard
You know,
to,
it's so faded out and stuff, you know.
well, I think
But
you have to
that's-
take
it's
it
an
to,
off-white, that's
it's
an
either
off-white.
that or that.
This more gray, I think, so
Yeah.
you look at it,
But
this
that's-
is more gray.
right.
It's not
And
gray,
on,
it's
on
more
the
in the
board,
beige.
can you route out a strip to simulate what it's gonna be?
Oh, yeah.
Just see how it goes in.
In
You
the
know, like
groove.
you use a 3/4 inch piece of plywood and just route out a little bit.
To simulate the actual groove.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the grooves look nice, it's gonna look nice coated, I
Yeah.
really do, in my experience, that I don't want it to look any different than it looks now. We don't wanna fill it to the point where you don't see that dimension of the actual, the
Mhm.
natural stone. You know, I wouldn't wanna fill that in any way, shape, or form, no matter what we use,
Hmm.
you know.
All right.
But I think in off-white, maybe this is
Yeah.
a close, you know. How would I do that? Would I bring it here? Do you come out?
No,
to
we come to the
Come
field,
out
we
to
come
the
there.
field.
Okay,
You just get in touch with Tommy and we'll arrange a date. We could do it next week.
okay, so I'll have a piece made, you know.
Great.
Something, how big do you want it, just like the
Well, enough
size
that-
of, size of the block, maybe like that block that we blasted?
And I would put two colors if you would on it. I put that, this, I think one was straw and the other one was that,
Well, the intent is to match what's there. is
Right,
that what you-
right,
so
which
it-
looks
It's
to-
hard to do from.
Yeah, so
Right.
if we
That
approved
would-
it, the condition would be, it would be a color that matches what the original stone looked like to be confirmed in the field. So we wouldn't have to specify what color it is. We just tell
try
you
to
to
match.
match, and then we show up and,
Well, the color that where we cleaned came back to actually like white.
it looks
So-
very gray though on your
Yeah,
photograph.
It's probably hard to see on here, but if you see it in person, you'll see where it's,
Well, it's just my suggestion to do a couple of colors that we could
Yeah,
look to
yeah.
see what,
like I said, if there's another picture. Okay, without the dirt, see, like those, like, it's more white when you look at the.
I
when
don't
it's
see
clean.
white.
Okay.
no, but
White,
I
cream-
understand what.
creamy white,
what you're-
off-white, it's like
what
an
you're
off-white.
I
getting
see
at.
limestone and,
Well,
yeah.
We can confirm in the field
Okay.
what it looks like.
Mhm.
Very good, appreciate that.
So.
And like I said, I'm just trying to make this thing look good.
Sure.
But, yeah, going back to my question before, I mean, let's say that there is an issue with moisture coming through the back and the product doesn't adhere, it chips. Can we get confirmation from the manufacturer that
Could be recoated.
that it could be removed? Let's say 10 years from now is fine with a darker look, because it doesn't go, because it's consistent with their use, and they want to remove it. I just want confirmation that it can be removed either chemically or blasted off in a way that won't damage.
No, I didn't think it'd be black.
Yeah,
No,
so
but let's-
just
it's not
submit
damaged,
confirmation
yeah.
from the manufacturer of what the process is to remove it, and not a guarantee, but assurance that, you know, the cast stone will be intact after the removal. I just wanna preserve options.
So, why would you want to remove it if there's water coming from the other?
If there's water coming from the other side, it doesn't look great, it peels, it cracks, rather than reapplying it, if the next tenant
Oh, okay.
would
so if
rather
it-
have.
Okay, so if it peels and cracks, can
Mhm.
it be removed?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, for whatever reason.
I just wanna
If it
make
fails,
sure.
if it fails.
If it fails,
We wanna
yeah,
make sure
exactly.
that there's
Yeah,
a,
that's fair
there's a
enough. I'm sure
backup
he would-
option.
Yeah.
I'm sure he would say that, but
Okay.
like I said, it's a 100-year company.
Mhm.
It hasn't failed in 30 years. It's gonna be way after my time.
Fair enough, but if they could just provide us some written reassurances, that would be helpful. Yeah, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm comfortable with certain conditions.
Are we gonna ask him to come back after we approve it?
Well, he's gonna have to, one of the conditions is he has to get approval in the field. So,
Alright.
yeah. So, you know, just, are there any other questions or concerns? And then I'll just kind of throw out my suggestion.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I think we summed it
Yeah,
up.
so my.
And I think if it's done properly, just
Mhm.
forget one thing, it's not gonna look like paint.
Mhm.
You know, so
Right.
it's not like it's gonna,
Yeah.
you know, be an eye opener, like, hey, why'd that get painted?
Yeah, and if he can,
It'll look close to what it was.
exactly,
Clean, not dirty.
exactly.
So, just kind of explaining my rationale in approving this with, very strict conditions is the fact that this is a, relatively new facade with a new product. The building was in pretty poor disrepair before this alteration and restoration. And since this treatment's limited to that new surface, I think, we can deviate slightly from our design guidelines and allow, painting, with the condition that we get confirmation from the manufacturer that this product can be removed without damaging the underlying texture, with the condition that the color would match what the original stone color was. And even though, this does make this a painted structure, they, would be restricted from repainting it a different color. It would have to be that same natural stone look if it was repainted. That they would use a texture that matches the texture of the stone, and that it would be approved in the field by is it the revisions committee? Or is it the design review committee?
Design review.
I think that sums it up pretty well. I just want to make sure, Mr. Burr, when we do the resolution, if we can make it clear the reasons why we're deviating from the design guideline, because I think it was important that Tommy was able to read to us that the last facade was approved because it strictly conformed to the guidelines. We want to make it clear that design failed and that we're allowing for some kind of exception because of that failure.
Tommy does the resolutions for the
Tommy,
board,
if you don't mind.
and I will review it, okay?
You don't mind making it
Yeah.
clear in the resolution
I'll-
why we're deviating, I think
Yeah.
it's important for the
Yes.
future.
And also, Tommy, include in the resolution that multiple attempts at cleaning
Yeah.
have failed. The applicant tried additional methods at the request of the commission, with the application being carried to allow that.
I think it's safe to say exhausted, right?
Yeah.
We exhausted cleaning methods. Was that fair? Is that, Tom, do you think that's fair?
I do.
Okay.
And I think it's just important that we all realize that it has to be approved on site.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And if it's not, then you'll be back again.
You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm not looking to cross the grain in any way, just looking to change that horrible look that we see every day. Really.
Fair enough.
'Cause it is horrible, it really is. If you walk past and you look at it, I mean, for a beauty salon, I really can't make it look much worse than trying.
So I'll make that motion to approve with those conditions as outlined.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Who do I notify?
Tommy,
So
in the-
notify Tommy, send Tommy that
I'll be in
letter from the
touch.
manufacturer.
I'll be in touch with you. I'll email you tomorrow.
All right, all right, thanks everybody for your time, I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Yep.
A little different than the norm, but I really think we needed this exception.
And I look forward to seeing the product in action.
Great.
I think it's still on.
Okay, good night.
All right, thanks everybody, good night.
Next on our agenda under new business is a Section 106 review on top of 10 Crestmont Road. In your packet, you received a letter from Acer Associates dated May 31st. And I was just a little concerned, Tommy, that this says, if you have any questions or comments regarding the proposed activities, please contact our office within 30 days. SHPO will be provided with documentation regarding the proposed activities. We're a little bit further out than 30 days. I just wanted that on the record. So, as you can see from the, we don't have anybody here to speak to that, obviously.
We don't. Can you guys hear me in this? Is this working? We don't, but I have the plans that I can pull up on the projector. We'll
What?
just go through them
Can
quickly.
you see this from the street?
I'm not totally
I
sure.
was up there.
No, I couldn't see
You
it.
can't see it from the street.
It's it's a tall building.
Can we talk procedurally for a second, though? Or, given that I don't know if they statutorily are in the right, that we have only 30 days to respond, but do we really have any recourse at this point?
It's
Not
for
really.
comment
Yeah.
only, really. It's
So-
not an approval.
Yeah,
It-
they're
okay.
gonna do it regardless, but
Yeah.
we give recommendations
I
on
see.
ways that they can kind of
Yeah.
mitigate some of the impacts, sometimes like color or placement.
Gotcha. Okay,
And
so it's
so-
gonna happen.
It's gonna happen, it's just that they want
Okay.
your suggestions.
But the
Understood.
building is not in a historic district, right?
No, it's
So
not.
it's adjacent to an historic district, and section 106 has different rules. That's
Yeah.
why we're looking at this.
And I just wanted to add to that, we're here to discuss what an adverse effect would be under section 106. So adverse effects can be direct or indirect and include the following: physical destruction or damage, alteration inconsistent with the Secretary of Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties, relocation of the property, change in the character of the property's use or setting, introduction of incompatible visual, atmospheric, or audible elements, neglect and deterioration, transfer, lease, or sale of historic property out of federal control without adequate preservation restrictions. And with those adverse effects, not all of them apply to this property. I would think the introduction of incompatible visual elements would be the one that would, what we're looking at. And I agree with Steve. I was up there too and could barely see
You
anything.
can't see anything.
So, but Tommy, if you could just walk us through, and then if anybody else has any comments.
Sure. So the basic overview of the scope is that they're replacing 9 antennas that are already up there, and they're adding 3 more. And then they're also doing the same for remote radio heads, which is equipment that's associated with each of the antennas. And so this is the plan view. This is the overall plan view of the building, and then this is a zoomed-in version of the left half of the building where the equipment is proposed.
Tommy, which is the front of the building?
Yeah, which way is north?
I believe the front is the top side.
I believe you're correct. I believe Crestmont is on this
Right.
side of the building. Yeah, because and so north is kind of
North should
plan
be
up.
to that right.
Is that gonna kind of be it up there? It's gonna be with these.
So
See this little thing right here, which you can't
Yeah, the building
see?
curves
It's
towards
right, it's
Crestmont.
right,
Yes.
yeah, through there.
Got it, okay.
and so these are detailed plan views of where the equipment would be mounted. I think we can go to the elevations. That elevation.
So the new equipment isn't any higher
Mhm.
than the existing equipment, right? It's all at the same elevation?
That's my understanding, yes. There's additional antennas, but I believe that the height is not being increased.
Right.
Tommy, can you pull up Google Maps on that we could,
I can't. There's no internet access.
still?
I got on, I just had to create a new account as a guest.
Do you need a cord? Oh, yes.
They won't provide.
We'll get an-
internet access inside the building.
We can hardwire the laptop.
Or unless you have Wi-Fi.
Well,
I don't.
Can you,
I think.
Do you wanna
Do you
see
have
my
a-
phone, Chair? I have the.
no, I've seen
Do you
it.
have-
I
Okay.
just wondered if it.
Does that have an HDMI cable?
We could do a snip and just put it up, so.
Yeah.
That makes more sense, although, because there's nothing here.
Right, there's, there's no renderings or anything, or, yeah.
What's the address? It's 10 Crestmont.
10 Crestmont Road, yeah.
What you wanna see, Kathleen?
I just, from the street, from Google, from the street,
Oh,
that
yeah.
it's barely, and you have to kind of,
Not
it's
Crestmont.
around there, and you have to, right, go that way, and then
Yeah,
turn it.
Crestmont, yeah.
It's hard to see with the trees.
Yes, but I think if you go a little bit more, and then go back,
Interesting.
there is a point where you can see. Is it over here? You can see it. You just see towers, towers coming up.
When we looked at towers before, we looked at what was visible from the street. And this, the question is, where would you see anything from?
I don't know
Didn't
where
seem
you
like
get
anything
that.
was visible.
It's a good question, yeah.
And
It's a
It really looks
seven-story
like-
building on
See,
top of a house.
I think it's right there.
it's like a basement, and you may be able to see it from flying over, but I don't think that's where we should measure.
And you certainly can't see it from lower down on was that Undercliff there, or?
And like, I don't
Without-
think
High
that's even
Street.
lower,
High
yeah.
Street.
it's lower.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't think you can see it from Kip's Castle either, because it's, all of the trees. Oh,
There
right
it is, there it is, right there.
That's what's existing right here.
Yeah. we're
But this
looking
is
at
not
that there.
what's,
That's
Yeah.
not what's
that's
being
not
built
what's
on.
being, changed.
What are those antennas?
Like, the only thing you can
Really tall
Yeah.
antennas.
But that's not what's being proposed.
See if there's any
That.
views from.
This is really a CIA installation. I just stumbled upon it.
Right. Didn't know the HPC was gonna
Right.
have our hand on it.
That right there. So Tommy was saying,
Yeah, there
the
it is.
panels here are being impacted, but those existing antenna,
Right,
That's
they're
not
being mounted to
changing.
the bulkhead
That's
on
not
top
changed,
of the
so
building.
it's just that one structure.
that structure there. That's it.
And is that structure getting bigger, taller, wider?
No, the structure's
No.
not changing, they're just,
To the side of
Just
that
the attachments.
That's what?
They're adding antennas to the side of that structure.
What was they rebuilt parapet? Didn't use the same mortar color.
Not in our purview, right? They should have known that.
Lousy window with the.
They basically just said, good
Is he
enough.
trying to get that up?
Oh, I think, yeah, he got a hard wire.
I did not.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, okay.
We have them, but they're not
Long enough?
that I
Oh.
can plug it in and project.
Okay.
I'm trying to get on the public Wi-Fi after taking.
Oh. Because otherwise, I think if you can't, everyone's seen this here. I mean, it's not, nobody else is gonna be able to see it, the public or anything from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're fine. I think we're fine. So, but Tommy, just, they're proposing putting additional antennas on that box that's on the roof. I thought.
Correct.
Okay.
3 more.
So maybe if we go back to the plan view.
Oh, you know what? I think it's actually this box here. 'Cause that's the center of the building. This is the left side. And I'm looking at the plans. That's the side with the antenna. They're on the other side here. This is where they're adding it.
Oh, okay.
So if you're facing it from Crestmont, it's on the right side of the building.
So you can't see it at all?
So, it's, I mean, I think you can see all that.
Oh, right,
See,
right.
You can see it right there. Yeah.
Maybe you
So
can.
it's actually this side behind the tree. You can see like the little radio boxes right there.
Right,
That's what they're modifying. There's another one right there.
just the radio boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
So if you look at these plan views, this is just one of the 3 sectors on the bulkhead. There are 2 AT&T antennas. Actually, looks like there's 3. All 3 of these are being replaced, and then a 4th is being added in this location for each of the sectors. So that's 3 total new antennas.
And they're removing those, correct? They're removing the old ones. I thought I read
Oh.
that.
Yeah, actually, it looks
Repla-
like they're all, wait, let me see.
Yeah, that was the one thing that, the building in Upper Montclair, that, the one comment we had was that they'd be removed.
It actually looks like they're just replacing all 3 of them in each of
Okay.
the sectors
So
instead
front
of
entrance is there.
adding one, which the letter said that they were adding one.
I think that they were replacing this stuff.
I think they're all around.
Okay, does anyone have any comment as to how this impacts negatively, or where am I?
Yeah. They're going to the same location except for the one additional, right? Existing, existing, replaced, proposed.
So, we don't see any change in the character of the property's use or setting?
No.
No?
No.
And introduction of incompatible visual, atmospheric, or audible elements? It's introduction of more visual.
Atmospheric or audible.
Yeah, visual,
Visual, yeah.
but not a negative impact.
No,
No.
be de minimis.
Agreed, yeah, de minimis is a good way to say it, yeah.
Okay. And it's not an alteration inconsistent with the Secretary of Interior standards? Okay, so we've got the 3, I think everyone's fine with
Yeah.
that.
This doesn't show those.
Can you email me what you're reading off of?
Sure.
There?
Yeah.
So that I can make sure it's in the.
Sure.
Report to them. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I will email you these adverse effects, and that the commission feels that it doesn't impact this project.
Yeah, the big point with the standards is it's reversible, right? This technology is not gonna be here forever, right? Things change and it's reversible, and,
Okay,
yeah.
all right, good, thank you. And then we have everything done except, Mr. Graham wanted to bring up the point about the
Demolition ordinance.
Demolition ordinance, yes. I think last time we had some discussion about why there was an exception to the requirement to at least attempt to sell the property as is. Apparently, because the way the statute's worded, the applicant was not required to, because they did not claim that it was the only recourse for their property. So I think we all kind of agreed that that's a real easy way to skirt that requirement, and that should be looked at and probably amended. And I know, Tommy, I believe you had mentioned that you're already looking into amending that.
Correct. So I have, basically, every time we've discussed something that would change the language of that ordinance, I've drafted a change and then I've sent it to the demolition committee, which I didn't realize Kathleen was on that committee, so Kathleen hasn't seen these, but to Jason and to John. And then basically anytime there's a new one, I just add it and resend it. And so I think what maybe the next step should be is review that in advance of the next meeting or the meeting in September. The committee can review that, and then we can bring the amendments forward for review by the full commission. So,
Would you mind just giving a sense of what the amendment would state and how it would change the ordinance? You don't have to give the exact
Well,
wording,
yeah.
but would it require all applicants to follow that, or would it say only non-contributing buildings don't have to follow that requirement, or what would be the fix that we're looking at? Because I think
I
part of the
can-
reason why this building, I thought initially they didn't have to do that because it was not deemed non-conforming, but that apparently was not the case. It was simply because they didn't claim that it was the only recourse for that building.
right, I can't remember off the top of my head what I did to that
Okay.
to change it, so, but I'll take that into account to the contributing or non-contributing status, and I'll look at it again.
Okay.
Before I reach out to the demo committee to get the discussion moving.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
I have a question. I think we put this on hold because of the demolition at 109 Union Street. So can maybe Mr. Byrd, you could update us on what's going on there?
On, with 109 Union Street, the applicant or the owners of the property have dismissed their case, voluntarily dismissed their case. And I believe they're in discussions with the planner on a 50%, less than 50% demolition to restore the property.
Oh, okay. All right, so, because that's really why we pulled back on further discussion. So, knowing that, then, do you think it's advisable then that we move forward with this?
Yeah, we can move forward, but I definitely want to have this discussion on the sale amendment. Like, well, what's the goal and what's the intent? Because like, something like with the VA, where they were proposing to demo, it was the only way that they, could continue their mission on site. But we wouldn't want them to put it up for sale, because the whole point is to keep that organization at that site.
It's a good
So how do
point.
we address situations like that, where we have a historic use and a historic user of the site, and we don't want them to give up that property?
It's a very good point. And can we maybe make an exception for historic use, or they have to come forward with evidence of historic use if they're going to avoid that requirement?
Okay, I'll look into adding language about the contributing status and then the historic use as well. I'll pass that along, and then maybe we can set up a meeting, a WebEx meeting with the committee to discuss then all of the changes that we have in there so far, and then we can maybe put it on the August agenda or the September agenda, depending on, I guess, how the meeting goes.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Thanks,
sounds
Tom.
good. How does the August agenda look so far? Is it?
We have, right now, there's a couple referrals from the Board of Adjustment on
Okay.
there. I don't think that there are any certificates of appropriateness right
Okay.
now.
Okay.
Oh, no, there is. I'm sorry. There is one. It's for site improvements at 4 Duryea.
Oh, okay. And then we'll have the resolutions that we looked at today.
I'm
For
sorry,
the-
and 554 Valley is coming back in August as well. So there are 2 certificates, and then there's 2 referrals so far.
Right, that sounds like a pretty,
That'll be a full meeting.
it'll be a full meeting.
That'll be,
right.
yeah, stacked.
Is there anything else that anyone would like to discuss? If not, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's 9 o'clock.
Thank you. Made it.
Thank you, everyone.